Hi everyone, my name is Kelsey Shreve and I did my presentation over Hinduism. So Hinduism is arguably the world's oldest organized religion with currently around 900 million people practicing it, and this is mainly in India, Nepal, and Mauritius. So over to your right you'll see the Hindu symbol for karma, and karma is very important to Hindus. So some of their attitudes towards death. So according to How Enlightened Beings Die, there are 10 reasons to not fear death. The first reason is that death does not exist. Death is a myth and doesn't exist in the way that most people define it. So Hindus believe that when someone dies, they drop their outer shell and they continue in the inner worlds. If moksha is not achieved, then you return to your physical form to resolve your karma. And we'll talk more about what moksha is later. So another reason that you should not fear death is that we all reincarnate. If you get something wrong, you have many chances to get it right again. Another reason is that releasing the body is just the way of things. Everything that lives ultimately dies, so you shouldn't fear that. They also believe that death is liberating, joyous, and elevating. Hindus call the death the great departure. And death also removes earthly suffering. It's a normal human experience that happens all the time, and it's believed to be as easy as sleep. In fact, some yogis believe that when we sleep, we experience a micro-death each time. So death shouldn't be feared because it happens every day to a lot of people, and methods have been provided by nature. There's many ways that you can die, and it happens to everything: animals, plants, people. And death is also the assurance of holy ones. It is in their scriptures to not be afraid of death, and they're reassured about it. And the last reason to not fear death is that you are awareness, and awareness is eternal and deathless. So next we'll talk about some beliefs and understandings about death. So the first belief is that everyone goes through samsara, and samsara is the cyclical journey of life, death, and rebirth until such a time that one is freed from this pattern, thus achieving moksha, or spiritual freedom. So moksha is the liberation from the cycle of death and rebirth. It is the ultimate aim of life, and it cannot be achieved without having good karma. So a couple of different ways that you can die that's not naturally are pravopasia and euthanasia. And pravopasia is when you fast to death, and it is viewed as an acceptable way to end one's life, but only when it is done under certain circumstances. So the conditions that have to be met in order for pravopasia to be okay is it's only used when the body has served its purpose and become a burden. It's only for people who are fulfilled, have no desires, ambitions, or responsibilities left in this world. And it's when the body can no longer perform normal bodily purification, when death appears imminent or life's pleasures are nil due to the body not being able to participate in them. And the decision has to be declared publicly, and it all has to be done under community regulation. So euthanasia is kind of divided between Hindus. A lot of Hindus believe that it is wrong, and for a couple of different reasons. So the first reason is that it causes the soul and the body to separate at an unnatural time, which can cause bad karma for both the doctor and the patient. And then they will get stuck in the cycle of samsara, going back and forth until they finally have good karma. Another reason that some Hindus don't like euthanasia is that it goes against their belief to not harm one's body. However, there are some Hindus that believe that euthanasia is okay, and that since you are ending someone's suffering, it can actually fulfill your moral obligations. So some customs and rituals that happen when someone dies, and there are a lot of these, and I got all of this from Clements. So the first ritual that happens is when the body dies, it is bathed, massaged in oils, and dressed in new clothes. The body is then cremated before the next sunrise, and this is important because immediate cremation helps the soul to transition from this world into the next. If the body is buried, then the soul could become confused and stuck on earth. So embalming and autopsy are only performed for legal reasons, if it was homicide or the body died from other traumatic reasons, because they want the soul to be able to move on. And when the body is cremated, flowers are placed around the body and the funeral pyre is lit, and both actions are done by the oldest son. However, if there is not any male children, then the tasks are then given to the Brahmin, or the priest, to complete. So there are a lot of rituals that are observed for the next 10 days, and the 10 days after the death of the loved one are spent in intimate prayer and meditation. And this is to help the departed soul along their journey. And some of the rituals that are completed along with the prayer and meditation are that the family keeps an oil lamp lit in their house at all times. And the family members also eat one meal a day, and that meal has to be cooked in their house. On the 10th day, the family travels to a river where they complete a ritual bath, shave their head, and the oil lamp that has been lit in their house is floated on the river on either a leaf or a flower. So these 10 days are important because it is believed that the soul of the departed is watching over the house, and it is not released until the 11th day. So since the soul is released on the 11th day, then on the 12th day, the family gathers with friends in the community to honor and remember the deceased. Before then, they do not meet with the friends or community members. And these are all my sources. Thank you guys for listening.